Welcome back to Generation Rogue. Today we have a few stories of interest, especially as we are quickly approaching the coming election. First things first, why is it okay to make fun of or mistreat Christians? Why is it funny? Why is it something to cheer about? We'll be talking about that. Also, wild abortion ads from the Harris campaign. X users are calling out Kamala on all of her crap and the blatant lies she's telling in these ads, plus testimony from OBGYNs and doctors that directly contradict the claims made in these ridiculous ads. Trump's rally, of course, at Madison Square Garden. So much to talk about there. And in other news, the tragic death of the lead singer of One Direction, Liam Payne, and what we should be learning from it. And of course, in typical Hollywood fashion, we have actors and actresses playing the victim. What exactly are they upset about this time? Why is everything racist? All of this and more coming up on Generation Rogue. Before we get into these juicy stories, I've got an early Christmas gift for you. Like many parents, you might share the experience of 1 minute your kiddo is bouncing off the walls, and an hour later they're super sick. You feel helpless, and it can turn your plans upside down, especially on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Medical Emergency Kit. You no longer have to deal with the emergency illnesses in panic mode. You can now have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20 plus illnesses for issues like strep throat, ear infections, lice, and respiratory illnesses. Avoid urgent care at hospitals. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand selected by the wellness company's medical board and includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, and an optional EpiPen and more. This includes a detailed guidebook guiding you step by step in emergencies. Ordering this kit is simple. Only parents can order for their children, fill out an intake form, and you will get a verification call for consent. Then it's delivered to your door. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis and avoid late night urgent care runs. Order your kids' emergency kit today and remove panic from your life. And if 1 or 2 of the prescriptions run out, there is a replenishment option to restock only what you need. Go to dailycloudhealth.com and grab your kids' emergency kit right now. Use code KATE to save up to $40 at checkout. These kits are available only in the USA. So, you've probably seen all the clips of Kamala Harris's rally where audience members shouted, "Jesus is Lord" and "Christ is King." Okay, so audience members shouted this at Kamala's rally. Someone recorded it, recorded her reaction. If you haven't seen this, take a listen.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street. Come on.
So that is the media recording. Someone else recorded from the audience, and you can actually hear a little bit better, in my opinion. So listen to this crowd angle.
Christ is King. Jesus is Lord.
So you can barely hear them, but they're saying Jesus is Lord. It's audible enough to understand what they're saying. And these are real people. It was 2 young men who have since been interviewed by Fox News. They have verified Twitter accounts, and their Fox News interview, they get to kind of tell what they experienced at Kamala Harris's rally. And basically their experience of being laughed out of her rally after she effectively embarrassed them and told them that they should leave. Um, and the first thing I find interesting about this is the fact that Kamala even heard them to begin with. So you've got a bunch of people, they're all cheering, there are people shouting. And granted, this was kind of in between waves of noise, maybe. And the reason I say that is because I used to do musical theater. And when you're on a stage in a room or auditorium full of people, there's like lights in your face. Presumably, the people are excited to see you. There's a lot going on. It can be very overstimulating. And maybe Kamala is just so used to that she can easily hear what audience members are saying in the crowd. Maybe. But secondly, I find the fact that she would respond in this way very strange. Like, imagine feeling so negatively about something one of the many people in the crowd is saying. This phrase, Jesus is Lord, is so offensive to her that she feels the need to call out that person or those people and tell them that they should leave because they're in the wrong rally. You compare that kind of behavior to JD Vance's response to the same phrasing, people shouting the same thing at a rally that he was at, and take a listen to his response here.
Anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think we've, that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen... I don't think that we've seen anything like this in modern American politics.
That's the kind of response we should be getting. There's no question. Imagine if a Jewish person wished Donald Trump a happy Sabbath and he told them to leave. I think there would be a very a very intense media backlash. But if Kamala Harris does it to a Christian, it's totally fine. What is this double standard? Why is that? Why is it okay to treat Christians the way Kamala Harris and the Democrats do, but it's not okay for anyone to criticize or say anything remotely negative about, say, a historical figure who happened to be Jewish or some other religion? We shouldn't be mistreating anyone based on their religion, in my view, but why is it that Christians are always this exception? Like, it's okay to do it if it's to a Christian. Like, no one cares. And then, of course, the same week, Kamala Harris goes to Christian churches to campaign to try to convince everyone that she actually respects Christianity. But also, if you're a Christian hospital, she thinks you should be required to perform abortions without any option for religious exemption. Listen to what she had to say about that right here.
What concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example? Is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
To Republicans like, for example, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who would back something like this on a Democratic agenda if, in fact, Republicans control Congress, would you offer them an olive branch? Or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals.
I have more to say on Kamala's abortion-focused campaign, of course. But first, there is a lot at stake this coming election. But regardless of who's sitting in the White House, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. Even 4 years of a conservative presidency will not be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. You don't have too much control over the election's outcome, but what you can do right now is protect your savings by diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. For millennia, gold has stood the test of time in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife, and now it can protect you. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, tax-free and penalty-free, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the US dollar has declined. The price of gold has increased by 40%. Coincidence? I think not. Text DailyClout to 989898 or visit birchgold.com/dailyclout to get your free info kit on gold. Trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Text the word Daily Clout to the number 989898 today or visit birchgold.com/dailyclout for your free info kit on gold. All right, so I saw another Kamala Harris ad the other day that I'm having trouble finding now on YouTube. If I find it, I'll edit it in somewhere. But I saw this ad the other day, and it was a woman talking about how she had an ectopic pregnancy and how she would have been denied treatment under Donald Trump's presidency and therefore would have died had she not been in a pro-abortion state. When I saw that ad, I wanted to scream. I don't know if you've seen my previous video dissecting Georgia's pro-life laws, in particular, but this ad was so blatantly dishonest. I really couldn't believe it. So let me make this very clear. In no state, in no place in the United States is ectopic pregnancy treatment illegal. That is not what pro-life laws say. That is not what Donald Trump's presidency did or would do. In fact, to avoid confusion, pro-life laws include a list of things that are not considered abortion, just to make it super clear to everybody. I encourage you to watch that video if you're interested in more of a deep dive. But ectopic pregnancy treatment is not abortion. Miscarriage care is not abortion. I don't know how many times we need to say this. Clearly more times, because people are watching that ad that Kamala Harris's campaign put out. And if they haven't read the laws, they are quite literally being lied to and believing it. They're being fear-mongered. And if you knew nothing about the laws, you might say, gee, well, I guess abortion needs to be legal in order for women with ectopic pregnancies not to die. No, it's not an abortion. And the fact that they put that out there, that ad trying to convince women and girls that they would be left to die if they experience any sort of complication during pregnancy, it's just disgusting. It's so untrue, guys. And we should be shouting about how dishonest and vile this woman's campaign is until the cows come home. Even after the election, I will still be talking about this regardless of who wins, okay? She is a very dishonest person, and her campaign is gross. If you have not seen her other ads, go watch them. It makes it very clear what kind of person you'd be voting for. It's just terrible. And I can only come up with two possible reasons why Kamala would be as radical as she is on abortion. The first reason is, of course, because she's evil and a very sick human being. I think that's probably more likely the reason. But to everyone supporting her in this, many people, I think, really don't understand or refuse to accept that abortion that pro-lifers are fighting so hard to ban, abortion that intentionally kills a child, is never, ever medically necessary. Now, if you don't believe me, because I'm not a doctor, here are some doctor testimonials. The first one is from Dr. Anthony Levatino, who used to be an abortionist. He performed hundreds of, if not thousands of abortions for like 12 plus years or something. So he sat down to answer questions about this abortion narrative that's going around. And I think he's pretty qualified to answer those questions. Here's how he responded to the question of, is abortion medically necessary? Take a listen.
We hear all the time how abortion, including especially late-term abortion, is necessary to save women's lives. Nothing could be further from the truth. I spent 9 years working at a tertiary medical center. I mean, there are only certain hospitals in the country that are designated to take care of the really, really high-risk pregnancies. You don't want to duplicate the effort. It's expensive. So these hospitals get referrals from the surrounding area. And Albany Medical Center in Albany, New York, where I worked, was one of them. I was faculty at the hospital for 9 years. And I saw hundreds of cases of really severe pregnancy complications, cancers, heart disease, intractable diabetes out of control, toxemia of pregnancy out of control. And I saved, in those 9 years, I saved hundreds of women from life-threatening pregnancies. And I did that by delivering them, by ending their pregnancy by delivery, either induction of labor or cesarean section.
Delivering the baby.
Delivering the baby. And I always tell people, in all of those years, the number of babies that I was obligated to deliberately kill in the process was zero, none. And I'll give you an example. The key point about late-term abortion that so many people miss is that it takes days to prepare the cervix. This is not a natural situation by any stretch. If you're going to dilate the cervix sufficiently, that starts off essentially as a pinpoint, large enough to dismember or tear apart a baby this big, that cervix has to be dilated, and that can take anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. And especially when you're talking about later term pregnancies. Most life-threatening situations, the vast, vast majority of life-threatening situations in pregnancy are not going to arise until 24, 25, 26 weeks of pregnancy and higher. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about abortion procedures that take 2 and 3 days to prepare the cervix. And I'll give you a classic example. This is a real case. A lady came to the hospital at 27 weeks of pregnancy with severe toxemia. Her blood pressure, you know, a normal blood pressure is about 120 over 80. Her blood pressure was 220 over 160. Okay, this lady would literally be minutes or hours away from a stroke. What do you do in a situation like that? We stabilized her, brought her back, did a cesarean section, had her delivered within an hour of arriving at the hospital. She and her baby did just fine.
Amazing.
Now, let's say we wanted to use abortion to save her life, okay? If with that kind of blood pressure and that kind of problem, if we waited 2 to 3 days to get her cervix prepared, she would never make it. She would have been dead. And that's a perfect example. You never need late-term abortion to save a woman's life. If necessary, you accomplish the delivery. Now, did every one of those children make it because they were preterm? No. But they all had a chance, and most of them did make it.
Here's another tweet from an OBGYN saying delivery is sometimes necessary, but not the intentional killing of a child in abortion. So this is a tweet from Dr. Omar Hamanda. He says, quote, "I want to clear something up so that there is absolutely no doubt. I'm a board-certified OBGYN who has delivered over 2,500 babies. There is not a single fetal or maternal condition that requires third trimester abortion. Not one. Delivery, yes. Abortion, no. And to all those people who keep saying third trimester abortions don't exist, they do. You are lying. You are being willfully blind. Even a small percentage of third trimester abortions, whatever percentage it is, it's relatively small compared to earlier abortions. However, with the number of abortions there are, that number is very high. Okay. And the fact that it's this narrative that, oh, a late term abortion just means there was something really wrong, some kind of terrible complication that required abortion. No, there is no complication that requires abortion. Delivery, yes. Abortion, no. Okay? Doctors are saying this too, so listen to them if you don't want to listen to me. Now, gosh, I'm like tired after that. I just don't understand how people can just close their eyes and plug their ears and just scream about, how abortion bans mean that you hate women, basically. It's just, it's so infuriating, especially because we're hearing more and more about how we know that abortion harms babies, but now we're hearing more about how abortion actually harms women too, which I think is a good thing because it's not something that's as mainstream as abortion itself. You think of abortion as, oh, it's life-saving, oh, it's empowering, oh, it's all of these things. And yet the women who are coming out and saying, actually, this caused me to have a lot of problems. Actually, I am permanently maimed from this abortion, right? Like I have problems having children now, or I actually got really depressed after my abortion. Actually, I was coerced into the abortion. You don't hear those things from women. And I think it's coming to the surface more now. And it's really important that that keeps happening because we need to hear from those women um, how abortion is actually harming women. And it's not helping them, it's not helping women. So that's why I really appreciate also JD Vance's responses during the presidential debate, where he talked about being pro family, right? Giving women uh, the support that they need to raise a child if they want to raise a child, so they don't have to feel pressured into killing it, right? You need funding, you need a support system, you need all of these things to make America more family friendly. Instead of just marketing abortion as this, oh, it's a solution. Oh, you can't have a corporate career if you have a baby. All of these things um, that are ways of promoting this very, very evil practice. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Donald Trump's rally. People are, of course, calling him Hitler, calling his supporters Nazis, and good old fashioned racists against, this time, Puerto Ricans. First of all, Puerto Ricans are white. Okay. Most Puerto Ricans. Are there black Puerto Ricans? Yes, sure. They're definitely not the majority, though. I think it's like 64% or something of Puerto Ricans are racially white. I'm pretty sure Mexicans are considered white too, aren't they? Like, have I been living under a rock? Since when was Hispanic considered a race? I don't know. So even if you were just hating on Puerto Rico because you hate it, you think it's ugly, it's still not racist in the way that these delusional Democrats are claiming. First of all, Puerto Rican isn't a race, first of all. Second of all, because the majority of Puerto Ricans are racially white, and according to these same Democrats, white people should be apologizing for being white. And there should be no such thing. There is no such thing as racism, according to them, against white people, which is an absolutely ridiculous and untrue thing to say, but they're saying it anyway. And third, because Puerto Rico literally does have a trash problem. And on top of everything else, people are rightly pointing out on X that Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian. It's his job to push boundaries. If you don't know the difference between something that's supposed to be comedy and something that is directly intended to be hateful, that's a problem. That's a you problem. I think one of the problems in this country, there are many, one of them is that comedy isn't allowed to be comedy anymore. People aren't allowed to tell jokes without somebody getting offended or without being accused of being racist or sexist or all the ists. There they are again. And as mentioned, Puerto Rico does have a trash problem. So where exactly is the hateful message here? I'm totally missing it. No one is calling it a trash island because they're referring to the people as trash. Puerto Rico really has a trash problem. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of these people calling everything racism and sexism and Nazism and fascism. If you're just throwing those words around, you're the problem because you are effectively downplaying the real instances of those things by claiming that everything is somehow one of those things. It's ridiculous. And it honestly reminds me of like a spoiled brat. We've all known a spoiled brat, a toddler that cries and screams because it's nap time, or a teenager that screams about how their life is ruined because their parents said they need to study for their test instead of going out to an underage drinking party. It's nonsense. And the Democrats are throwing a fit in this way, throwing out any word that will give them a scandalous headline for Trump. Well, I've got bad news for Democrats. Apparently, no one has ever told them the story of the boy who cried wolf. They've cried racism and sexism and all the isms one too many times. And Americans are tired of it because they realize what this really is a spoiled brat screaming about how their life isn't fair and everyone is out to get them. And this person that they don't like is basically Hitler. It's so childish. And then they expect everyone to acknowledge their brilliance, their bravery to make these ridiculous and defamatory comparisons that have absolutely no merit. None. These people need to grow up. And maybe a good night's sleep will help clear up their delusions. How can one get a good night's sleep, you ask? Well, look no further than Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. Many of us are extremely stressed about the upcoming election. I know I am in just a few days. So it can be hard to slow your racing thoughts at night when you're trying to sleep. Once I started taking Magnesium Breakthrough, my sleep completely changed. Now I have no problem falling asleep and waking up refreshed and energized and ready to take on the challenges of the day. Over 75% of the population is magnesium deficient. And what most people don't know is that even if you're taking a magnesium supplement, you might not be getting all of the 7 forms of magnesium that you need because most supplements only give you 1 or 2. But Magnesium Breakthrough gives your body all 7 forms in 1 supplement. Don't miss out on the most relaxing sleep ever with Magnesium Breakthrough. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/dailyclout and use promo code DailyClout during checkout to save 10%. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, but you'll also make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed. That's Bioptimizers, bioptimizers.com/dailyclout. Promo code DailyClout at checkout. You know what else might help these mobs of unhappy leftists improve their attitude is collagen. Native Path Collagen, a collagen formula scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, accelerate tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, and enhance hair thickness, strengthen weak or damaged nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all these benefits? I know I do. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. I add it to my coffee in the morning. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly without clumping. And the best part, Native Path Collagen offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path Collagen for up to an incredible 45% off, plus free shipping. Every order comes with that 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free today. That's getnativepath.com/dailyclout to start your transformation today. All right, moving on to some other stories here. We'll start with the tragedy of Liam Payne. If you don't know who Liam Payne is, he was the lead singer for a boy band that was very popular in the 2010s. I remember this very well. Everyone was obsessed with One Direction. The group was put together by Simon Cowell when they all auditioned as solo artists on the X Factor. They didn't know each other ahead of time, as far as I know, and they auditioned separately, and Simon Cowell kind of helped form the band together. And they did really well. If you are unfamiliar with One Direction itself, you've probably heard One Direction song, maybe without realizing it. They're very popular on the radio. Anyway, Liam Payne died after sustaining serious injuries after falling from a third-story balcony in Argentina in a hotel. And apparently, he had struggled with alcohol abuse, and his autopsy showed drugs in his system, specifically something called pink cocaine. Now, I'm not going to go too far into the rabbit hole with this story because there's been some mixed messaging about, did he take the drugs in overdose? Was he given the drugs without his knowledge by someone else? I hope they're investigating the possible scenarios here. But anyway, Simon Cowell has reportedly stepped down from Britain's Got Talent after receiving this news. He was, in many ways, Liam Payne's mentor. It seemed to me that Simon Cowell and Liam Simon helped Liam a lot. Like Liam was like growing and trying to get better, and the first time that Liam auditioned, Simon sent him home after, a few episodes because he didn't think he was ready yet, and then Liam came back, and anyway, it seems like they were very close, and Simon was sort of his mentor in some ways. It's a very sad story, and we should all pray for Liam's family, of course. I believe he had a 7-year-old son, so that must be a very difficult situation. But the point that I want to make about this story is the smoke and mirrors of Hollywood. It isn't the glamour that we're being shown. Why do so many actors and singers and darlings of Hollywood struggle with substance abuse? It's like an epidemic in many ways. And sure, money is readily available and those things are readily available, but if Hollywood is so great, why are all of these stars so miserable? And then you see this immense effort by the Democrats to get some top tier celebrities, some second rate celebrities to endorse Kamala Harris. Is this working for anyone? Like, are people saying, wow, Taylor Swift is voting for Kamala Harris, so I guess I should too? Wow. Eminem, who hasn't been relevant in years, is endorsing Kamala Harris, so I guess I should too. Is this working for anyone? Maybe for some people, sadly. I don't understand why. I think we should change that. But most of the people in Hollywood are not who you think they are. They are not happy and smiling in their mansions surrounded by their friends. They are filthy rich and evidently miserable. And they're performers. And we shouldn't be idolizing them. Many of these people, I believe, have effectively sold their souls, and the rest maybe got sucked in young. The rest are trapped in a lot of ways, miserable, struggling with the reality of what Hollywood is and what it did to them. In either case, we should not be idolizing these people. We should be praying for them and not taking their advice on who to vote for. Instead, we should be thinking for ourselves and not relying on these pop stars, this sort of constructed image of perfection, and just taking their word for whatever they think we should do, we'll do. That's not how this is supposed to work. So anyway, that's something that I think we should learn from that. Stop idolizing Hollywood. It's getting very bad. I think we're starting to hear more and more horror stories from Hollywood, and it's very interesting because the entertainment industry is sort of morphing in a lot of ways with the political world, which is kind of an interesting dynamic, but never seen anything quite like it. And there's something going on there for sure. And speaking of Hollywood, yet another Hollywood remake of a story has surfaced, a movie version of the Broadway play based on the book Wicked. I'm sure you've heard about this. Actress Cynthia Erivo plays the main character, Elphaba. If you're not familiar with Wicked, it's basically the origin story of the Wicked Witch of the West. It's a musical on Broadway. I'm not interested in watching the remake, so I don't know if they're making that a musical. I assume they are, because if you're making Wicked but without the music, that just seems to defeat the purpose of remaking a Broadway musical. But anyway, I digress. So the Broadway poster looks like this. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. This has been the iconic poster for Wicked since it debuted in 2003. Now, the movie's poster was recently released, and here's what that looks like. So kind of similar, some obvious differences, but I mean, it's a remake, so they're gonna, change things up. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and by interesting, I mean kind of funny and entertaining to me, because everyone is familiar with fan edits of movie posters. This happens literally every time there's a new movie poster release. A lot of times there are even fan-made posters of movies that aren't even in the works. Like, no one's working on this movie, There's just a fan that made a movie poster of some book series that they want made into a movie. So they photoshopped a poster as sort of a creative output to get other fans excited about the possibility of a movie adaptation sometime in the future of a book starring their favorite actors, whatever. Okay. So, point being, fan edits have existed since the dawn of Photoshop, basically. Now, a fan, a fan recently made a fan edit of the new Wicked movie poster to make it look more like the original Broadway poster. Here's the fan edit. Now, as you can see, it looks more like the Broadway poster with the red lipstick, the half covered face. But as usual, the internet exploded with criticism, and Cynthia Erivo herself was offended. The photoshopper was called a racist, accused of trying to erase Cynthia Erivo because she's black and queer, supposedly. I cannot stress how ridiculous this is. It sounds like a Babylon Bee headline, like Wicked poster labeled racist for resembling the original. It's so stupid. These people will do anything to play the victim. Cynthia Erivo is the star of a huge movie based on one of the longest running Broadway shows of all time. And she still wants to pretend that somehow she's the victim of something. This apparently is the new normal. But this is everyone's reminder that you don't have to sit back and quietly nod your head. Can we perhaps all agree that we should call out these people on their nonsense? Can we bring back being blunt instead of walking on eggshells because someone might get offended if you tell them they're being dumb and dramatic? I think that might be what we all need. We need to start doing more of that. And the artist, the person who photoshopped this poster, actually responded, made a public response, and here's what this person said. Okay, so this person says, quote, "The last few days have been wild and have helped me realize that the initial reaction was largely overblown. This is and always was an innocent fan edit to pay homage to the original Broadway poster, and there is nothing wrong with that. While I deleted initially, as I felt it was the right thing to do, fan posters have been around for as long as movies have existed. I never meant to cause any harm, and the poster is just a homage to the original Broadway poster, just like the movie's recreation is." This person is exactly right. And it sounded like they deleted the post after all the backlash they were getting, and then they reposted it, and because, they had time to think about it, and they were like, "Actually, there's nothing wrong with this. Actually, I don't have to listen to this crowd of people who are telling me I'm racist just because I did a fan edit of a poster to make it look more like the original poster." There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I totally agree. And this is what more of us need to do instead of just, avoiding the confrontation and sitting quietly in the background and nodding our heads. We need to be like, actually, no, actually, I did nothing wrong. So, point being, we all need to start doing this more, standing up for ourselves, standing up for what we think, not just, avoiding confrontation and sitting in the background and nodding our heads. We need to start standing up more because clearly people need to hear it. Clearly people aren't used to any type of criticism or having to deal with anything that they disagree with because they'll just cry about it and it'll get taken down. Not anymore, okay? This is why I like being on X so much, is because it's the land of free speech, and I would like to see that brought back when Trump gets back in office, guys. Very exciting. I really just included this Wicked story because it's a little bit more light. Most of us can probably laugh about this. It really does sound like a made-up story, but here we are in the land of make-believe. At least we can do is laugh about things sometimes, but also learn from them, learn to be confrontational sometimes. It's okay to be confrontational sometimes. It's okay to stand up for yourself. You're not being racist or sexist or whatever ist just for sharing your view that happens to be different than someone else's view. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for joining this episode of Generation Rogue. You can find me on Twitter at Kate Hildreth. I'm also on Getter at Kate Hildreth. And I'm also on Instagram, so you can find me there. And of course, you can find me on Generation Rogue on Daily Clout. Please support us by supporting our sponsors. The best way to support us is by supporting our sponsors. And don't forget, if you haven't already, get yourself a copy of the Pfizer Papers. Order it on Amazon. I know we all don't like Amazon, but that's the best way that we can get up in the ratings. We want to get to the bestsellers list, and the best way to do that is best way to help us do that is by ordering the book on Amazon. So get the Pfizer Papers. They're a compiled list of reports. It's like textbook size. It's a great print. It's all in color. So you can go through and see what all Pfizer hid from us, what all they lied about, how they ruined their clinical trial and told us it was all safe and effective. Symptoms you might be seeing in yourself or in your loved ones. All of these important things in the Pfizer Papers. So get your copy on Amazon. Support our sponsors. Donate if you can. We have a lot going on. It's very expensive. And of course, stay safe out there as the election's coming up. Stay awake, stay curious, and I will see you next time.